Next up, when I think of travel shows, faraway cities, exotic islands, and ancient ruins come to mind. But as PBS's No Passport Required proves, you can find plenty of new multicultural and culinary experiences without ever leaving the country, or even our own backyards.
Welcome to New Bedford.
How are you?
What a nice, cozy place.
This place, you're sort of right in the heart of where everything is happening.
I'm joined now by the show's host, Marcus Samuelsson. I should note he also owns a dozen restaurants, including Red Rooster in Harlem and London, Ginny's Supper Club in New York, the Eatery Social in Sweden. He was the youngest chef ever to get a 3-star review from the New York Times. He's written 7 books. He's been a judge for Chopped, The Taste, and Top Chef Masters, among others. Oh, and did I mention he's a 6th-time James Beard Award winner. Are you exhausted or what?
Listen, I've had a great day here, and you know, hearing all that, I'm like, what? Who is that guy? What
Exactly. I think it's you or
Yeah.
someone just like. So a friend of mine who loves your show and is pretty fond of you, even though he has met it, described it to me last night as a love letter to immigrants with food. Is that a fair description?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Did
thought
he
he
or
nailed
she
it
work
too.
for us or what?
Are you conscious when we talk a lot about immigration issues on the show? Are you conscious when you're doing this thing? You're in season 2 about the animosity toward and the fear of immigrants that's all around us, Marcus?
You know, I'm driven about there's definitely connecting, and really immigrants have worked so hard to leave a place somewhere else to come here, right? And then to give. Very often it's around food. That's the first community. That might be the first entry point. And I want to narrow the gap of this misunderstanding, right? And, you know, the show does a little of that. It opens up the door for a cuisine or a culture you may or may not know about, and it just narrows the gap a little bit.
You could call it Mythbusters. I just realized that's another possibility.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, you're an immigrant born in Ethiopia, obviously
Yeah.
spent a couple of decades in Sweden before you ended up in your mid-20s in New York City. I was reading from Yes Chef, a friend of mine, that same friend has your memoir from a few years ago. You tell this story.
Is that friend my mom, by the way? Because they sound suspicious.
Well, it's funny because it's not funny. You tell a harrowing story about your biological
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah.
You, your younger sister, your mother all have TB.
Yeah.
Your mother walks 75 miles to a hospital and then succumbs. You were 3 years old at this point.
My mother, you know, she passed away, and I feel like what my sister and I done after this is really, we want to honor her with the work and the love that she put in, and then also life's going to throw you these random curveballs, right? Like, we lucked out. We got adopted by a Swedish family. Everyone doesn't, right? And that gave us a second chance, a second opportunity. I'm a big believer in that, and I kept on dreaming. My family in Sweden, my grandmother really taught me about cooking, but I kept on dreaming about having my own place and living my fullest potential, and that was coming to America. And so many people does that around the world. America is this beacon of hope.
And so a decade or a couple of decades later, we're in season 2. Let me see, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, I think Houston, Seattle, Boston. I'm missing one, yes?
Very good.
What am I missing?
Philly.
Oh, my hometown.
Yes.
Actually, so let's talk Boston for a little bit. We'll play a little excerpt. Here you are in Fall River at Portugalia's Marketplace, talking with Michael Benvenides about the market his father started in 1988. Check us out.
I grew up with this. I know this salt flavor. I know it.
It's familiar. These are shreds, bits, so trimmings. That's a pollock. This is the cheeks.
Yeah.
So, and then these are the faces. The Portuguese aptly named it the fiel, meaning the faithful friend, because you could always depend on salt cod.
Faithful friend, I love that. So you're in Boston, you're in New Bedford, Fall River, Portuguese, Brazilian, Cape Verdean. Was any of this food new to you? You ever had, have you had all of this before? Or
No, I haven't. And also when you do this deeper dive, right, there is an overlay in, obviously the Portuguese language and its history is really what holds these community together. But it's also what, there are nuances, there are differences there, right? Cape Verdean, these islands right outside Africa, next to Portugal. Brazil has its history. So you know, everybody's found a new home here in the Boston, greater Boston area. Everybody loves soccer. That's really, everybody eats bacalhau. All 3 cultures eat bacalhau. But then there are tons of food that the other culture might not eat, right? So there is nuances and differences, and I think there lies the beauty.
Bacalhau is that salted fish we just saw, which the guy who owns it says 2 years it'll stay on a shelf. 2 years.
When I talk about dreaming and family business, think about that. That wonderful store started by his father, 1988, in a garage.
I know,
and now it's as big as a New York City block, right?
So did you learn anything that you didn't know about people in these 2 seasons traveling this country?
I learned a lot, that America looks very, very different than what you think. And people are curious, not just on the coast. People want to know about other places. We might not always have access, and food is a great window in to another person's culture. By
the way, and we not only learned about their culture in the United States, but using them as the entry point. And we learned so much about the places they came from.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were the chef at the first date dinner for the Obamas. What'd you serve?
We served an Indian-American-inspired meal, and it was a lot of fun. 400 guests, lots of great food, and we kept it on time, which was the most important thing. 4 courses, 44 minutes. All the dishes had to be out on time.
Yeah, you told me and Marjorie today on the radio a wonderful story about what the Obamas did after the state dinner was over. Share it with people, if you would, Marcus.
After shaking over 400 people's hand and, of course, hosting, they were kind enough to come back in the kitchen to talk to all the cooks, the dishwashers, listen to our stories, take pictures with us. And it's moments like that I'm like, wow, they're amazing people. And I will always be forever grateful for the Obamas and what they did for us.
Speaking of amazing people, about 1.5 years ago, Anthony Bourdain was sitting in that seat. I know he was a friend and mentor to you. And actually, he joined you in Ethiopia. The show aired in late 2015. He was just a little smidgen of that.
In rural communities, when you kill a couple of animals, right, everybody in the village has sort of a chosen specialty. Like Joe Bob over there, he does the cracker. Somebody else over there does the boudin. Somebody else over there is like good at just scraping the fur off. Somebody else, but everybody's got a function. You know, it goes right back to the first fire. I mean, I'll bring the dip. You know.
It's really hard to watch your show without thinking of him. Are you thinking of him? I mean, is there
I am. I think about a couple of storytellers, right? I think about the great late writer Jonathan Gold from Los Angeles. I think about Anthony Bourdain. Think about Julia Childs. You know, these are really amazing icons that moved American food and curiosity around American food. What was off-center sometimes. They are really the people that when I make the show, I'm like, what would Anthony say? What would Tony say? Would Jonathan like what we're doing? And for me, it's really asking those questions because it's really about feeding our curiosity. And then no one wants to be a tourist in any town. You want to travel like a local, a little bit more informed. And that's really what I hope that No Passport can do.
Do you ever go anywhere without a hat? I just realized, I was talking on the radio today about your plaid, and then I realized I don't think I've ever seen you without a hat. What's with the hats?
I brought the Boston Green for you.
I love it. You look great in it.
Right?
What's with you in hats, though? What's the deal?
I always wear hats, man. Yeah. Always.
It fits you well.
Thank
your
you.
show is wonderful.
Thank you so
Marcus,
much for having
good
me.
to see you.
Appreciate
Thanks so much. Again, you can catch new episodes of No Passport Required Mondays at 9 o'clock right here on WGBH2 or stream full episodes online at WGBH.org. You'd love it.